This video is sponsored by Carl Gustav Jung, my favorite old, dead, wise white man. More about that later in the video. Welcome to Disruptive Philosophy. My name is Brittany, and this is another video in my series, Prime Alchemy: How Humans Work. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the definitions and meanings of the four main cognitive functions and their introverted and extroverted scales. This is going to be Lesson 2. Yay! We've actually gotten to Lesson 2. I know it took quite a few videos to get through Lesson 1. I think Lesson 2 is going to be less videos, maybe 1 or 2. We will see. Let's get into it. Now, in this series, these videos are building on themselves. So if there is any terminology or concepts or ideas that don't seem familiar to you, please go back and check the past videos in this playlist because I probably answered them or talked about them then. And if there are some definitions that you still don't understand that aren't in those past videos, put them in the comments. I will respond and answer those questions. Maybe I'll do a video. Cognitive functions were originally developed by our psychology guru, sage, Carl Gustav Jung. In Carl's research and development of cognitive functions, he identified 4: thinking, sensing, feeling, and intuition. And these 4 functions are divided into 2 roles or jobs. One is a perceiving function, so perceiving information, data, experiencing the world, collecting information. While the judging functions help us actually make decisions based on the information that we have perceived. So we use sensing and intuition to explain how people process and receive information, and we use thinking and feeling to help understand how people actually make decisions about that information. In Carl Jung's original cognitive theory, he just used the functions sensing, thinking, feeling, intuition, and you would have a dominant function, and then the other 3 functions would be underneath those functions. He also did talk about extroversion and introversion, but it was really Myers-Briggs, which was a typing system based off of the Jungian system that kind of expanded it out. In the Myers-Briggs system, they actually identified 8 cognitive functions by making each of the cognitive functions introverted or extroverted. So that aspect of this theory was added on by Myers-Briggs. John Beebe is another psychoanalyst and psychologist who I'm also using as a point of reference for this new system that I've kind of created. He also got into the details of the different positions within the 8 cognitive functions, meaning the 4 functions, one being extroverted and introverted. And I've kind of taken Jung's original philosophy and Myers-Briggs and John Beebe, as well as objective personality and socionics. We'll talk a little bit more about that in part 3, but I've kind of combined them together for best practices. In the system Prime Alchemy, we are going to consider that there are 4 cognitive functions, and each cognitive function is on a introverted or extroverted scale, or what we are going to call a coin. There is a concept and theory within Myers-Briggs that is using 8 cognitive functions, that the 4 cognitive functions that you don't value, or that may be at the bottom of your stack if you had all 8 stacked up, that those 4 are considered the shadow and they are unconscious, and that you will kind of always suck at them. This is not true. Socionics also talks about this, but all 8 functions you have access to, you can be good at, you can improve, because if you couldn't, that would be really limiting. And I think that is oftentimes why Myers-Briggs sometimes gets very stereotypical and feels limiting to people because it does imply that these other 4 aspects of these functions, that you just don't care about them and you're never going to be good at them and they're completely unconscious and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm going to throw that all out with the bathwater. All 8 functions you have access to, you can do. It is to what capacity can you use those functions? And we will get into the different positions of the functions, their role within those positions, all of that detail in part 3. We are going to start now with just defining the functions so we understand them. Then in part 3, we will definitely be getting into the positions. And then in part 4, we will be getting into the actual different personality archetypes. So like I previously mentioned, we are going to use Carl Jung's original concept of 4 cognitive functions: thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuition. But we are going to take those functions and we are going to say that they are on a scale or a coin. Meaning if you have sensing as your dominant function and you value using extroverted sensing over introverted sensing, then you would have a coin of sensory, and on one side would be introverted sensing and on the other side would be extroverted sensing. But your default would be to use extroverted sensing. But you absolutely use introverted sensing and can use introverted sensing really well. It's just on the other side of your coin. So it may take a little extra effort, or it may be something that you have to consciously develop. And that's all I'm going to really get into as far as the details of positioning, because we're going to get deep dive into that a little bit later. But what I do want to talk about is what introversion and extroversion actually means within the concept of psychology and this philosophy. So in the context of this psychology, we don't want to think of extroversion and introversion in the pop culture way. Extroverted people want to be around people, introverted people are homebodies. Like, throw, again, that all out with the last bathwater we threw out, okay? We don't want to think about it that way. We want to think about introversion as what is going on in your inner world, okay? So if I'm quiet and I just start thinking, maybe I close my eyes and I create visuals. I was imagining being at a beach. That's my inner world. You guys can't experience that world unless I express it to you or tell you about it, okay? So all of our introverted sides of our cognitive function coins are going to be our inner world. If we talk about introversion, we mean inner world, okay? And if we talk about extroversion, it's talking about all the things going out here. I am wearing this blue shirt, I have these necklaces on, I'm wearing a hat, that's my painting, computer, the sounds, my voice, whatever taste you're experiencing right now, those are all things that are happening in the outer world. Other people's feelings, other people's logic, like those are extroverted things that are happening in the outer world. So introversion equals inner world, extroversion equals outer world. Now, introverts do tend to refuel their energy fuel tank by being more solitude. And extroverts will tend to refuel their energy fuel tank through being around other people. So I always like to ask people, if you just had a long, stressful week on Friday or Saturday night, are you more likely to stay home and be alone? Or are you more likely to want to spend time, whether it is out or even if you are still home, you're inviting people over? What is going to replenish your empty cup? And that kind of helps you figure out, am I introverted or extroverted? You can't just be like, well, I stay home most of the time and I don't talk to a lot of people, so I must be an introvert. No, you might just be an extrovert that has some trauma. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you're struggling making friends. You're still probably an extrovert. It's very easy in the current society for extroverted people to get very lonely. Plus COVID. I felt really bad for my extroverts during COVID. Can I say COVID? Does that get, I don't know if I can even, YouTube has too many rules about what you can and cannot say, and I choose not to participate in censoring myself. So if my video gets age restricted or whatever else, nothing I can do about it. I also want to dispel this misconception that if you're an extrovert that you don't need alone time, and if you're an introvert you don't need time with people. That's not true. We all need all of these things as humans. It's to what extent, capacity, level do we need them based on your default personality archetype. The introvert is likened to Apollo, who shines a light on understanding. The introvert is focused on the internal world of reflection, dreaming, and vision. Thoughtful and insightful, the introvert can sometimes be uninterested in joining the activities of others. Your inner world, your thoughts, ideas, feelings, your truth, the authentic self. The extrovert is associated with Dionysus, interested in joining the activities of the world. The extrovert is focused on the outside world of objects, sensory perception, and action. Energetic and lively, the extrovert may lose their sense of self in the intoxication of Dionysian pursuits. The outer world, how you express your inner world, and the objective reality of the sensory world. Sound, sight, smell, taste, touch. In those descriptions, it kind of outlines how we are going to use extroverted and introversion within this system. Again, introverted, inner world, and then we're going to add one other meaning to that, which is subjective. Your introvert, inner world, subjective. All, fucking hitting my necklaces. Introversion is synonymous with our inner world, which is also going to be synonymous with our subjective experience. Just like extroversion is going to be synonymous with outer world, which is also going to be synonymous with objective. The sensations we experience is what makes up objective reality. And our subjective perceptions of them is what help us populate our inner world with new ideas, thoughts, feelings, etc. As well as they help us reconcile what we are experiencing in our inner world with what we are experiencing with the outer world. So if we are talking about a function, a cognitive function like sensory, okay, the extroverted sensory is going to be objective sensory, objective reality, pretty much. And introverted sensing is going to be our subjective senses. An example would be me and you are both looking at a picture of a rose, and maybe the rose is wilting. Your subjective perspective of what that rose means is going to be different than my subjective perspective of what that rose means. We may both agree the objective reality is that the rose is red, but the meaning of the rose may be different. You may think the rose means love, Valentine's Day, and I may look at the rose and think that it means death. And those different meanings come from our subjective life experiences and our subjective inner introverted functions. Let's go ahead and put a title card up and let's get into these cognitive definitions. During this series, I am going to use the letters S-I-T-E. I'm going to use those letters for the cognitive functions, but I've also combined them with one word that can also mean that letter. Hopefully this is making sense. I find that the letters for new people tend to be really confusing. I struggled to remember all the letters and what they mean in the beginning. So I think giving a one word, very reductionist description or title for each of these cognitive functions will help people remember them easier. They also help with explaining when we're trying to understand our function stack and how this can help us with healing. So as I go through these, I will be letting you know what that word is for that function. The first cognitive coin that we're going to talk about is sensing. One side of the coin is going to be our extroverted objective sensing, and the other side of the coin is going to be our introverted subjective sensing. So let's talk about introverted sensing, subjective sensing. Introverted sensing, or SI, in this personality typing, or I don't even like calling it a personality typing system, this psychological system called prime alchemy, introverted sensing is going to be memory. One word to remember that function, memory. Introverted sensing. Introverted sensing, or memory, is a perceiving function. It's a function that we use to organize data that we have collected. Introverted sensing is memory, home, remembrance. It's an observing, organizing function. Introverted sensing asks what was, or ask how is the data organized. It preserves and references the past to inform beliefs. This is how it's always been done, or this didn't work last time. It's considered conventional, traditional. It is stabilizing with a predictable standard. It keeps order within the tribe. It can be worrisome, and it is risk avoidant. It is focusing on organizing the facts and experiences. It also is implementing and accounting for, verifying, and it's detail oriented and focused. It is very connected to the idea of what categories are needed to organize this data. Introverted sensing, or memory, also sees things through symbols. By being able to see things through symbols, it is connected to that aspect of memory, introverted sensing, memory, and it makes things easier to remember. Introverted sensing, or memory, also is in charge of inner body sensations. It holds memories of the individual, and it holds these memories in your physical body. This is why there are books that talk about the way that trauma affects us physically and the way that emotions show up in our physical body. It is through this function, because this function is in charge of memory and your inner body sensations, and those are intimately connected. This function can be very nostalgic, and within a population, the people who use this function dominantly are actually the collective memory for humanity. One of the main roles of introverted sensing, or memory, is remembering things for others, and people who use this function dominantly or value this function the most are actually the largest population in humanity when it comes to personality types. We'll get more into population and percentages of these different archetypes within the population later on in the series. The main focus of this function is homeostasis, the feeling of wholeness with self, harmony within community or tribe, wholeness with the earth, nature, and the feeling of complete physical, spiritual, and psychological safety. So, introverted sensing, SI, or subjective sensory, or memory, or home. It's the function that makes us feel secure, part of a tribe, part of a community. It means that we have a home base to go back to if we go out and explore in the world. It's about comfort and security and not taking big risk. And it also is about not changing things, really enjoying the security of things that we have experience with and continuing those patterns of behavior because we have experience with them and they make us feel safe and comfortable in homeostasis. The other side of the sensory coin when it comes to cognitive functions is extroverted sensing. And extroverted sensing is what I call reality. It is objective sensory information. Extroverted sensing is an observing, gathering function. It is about reality right now. It asks questions like, what is, or what is the data? It is about gathering facts and experiences. It is attuned to physical details, outer sensations like sight, sound, smell, touch, taste. It relishes new experiences, tasks, and challenges, and enjoys engaging and enjoying in these activities with other people. It is where we experience excitement seeking, and it wants to take action in the present moment, lives in the moment, or loves immersing itself in the present context. So extroverted sensing, or reality. It is the objective reality of what is going on. Objectively, in reality, right now. Well, not right now because you're watching this video, but while I'm filming this right now, I am highly aware highly aware of my sensory surroundings, okay? Of the things behind the camera, how fucking bright these lights are, the sounds of the AC in the background. We have something going on in the kitchen that's been making this beeping noise. I can lightly hear it in the background. Those are all sensing things. Tasting the spit in my mouth, touching my legs, or putting my hands together and feeling the smoothness of my skin. These are all things that I am collecting data. And you have probably experienced people who use extroverted sensing as a dominant function for experiencing the world, and they're typically your friends that are like, call you and like, hey, you want to go do this thing right now? Or while you're out partying, they're like, let's go try this new thing, right? And they might encourage you to experience the world more. I love my SE dominant friends because they remind me to come back to reality. Okay, let's get into our next cognitive function, which is thinking. Now, thinking is a judging cognitive function, whether we are using it introvertedly, subjectively, or we are using it extrovertedly or objectively. It is a judging function that we make decisions with. So we'll start by talking about the introverted side of the scale of thinking, which is introverted thinking. Introverted thinking is subjective inner thinking, or what I like to call for my Prime Alchemist series, it is truth. Introverted thinking is based on subjective logic and a desire to seek truth. Introverted thinking or objective thinking is a deciding identity function. It deals with logic and truth and normally asks the question why it is, or what works for me. It is about logical personal reasons, internal logical framework. It is the identity function that defines why we do things. It is about an accurate analysis of the data, of people, of the situation, of the context, and it seeks logical foundations and consistency in thought. It is gaining leverage using a framework, and it is focused on naming and defining, as well as understanding in totality. It wants autonomy in methodology and in decision making. For the two sides of our thinking coin, I like to think of introverted or objective thinking as why. It wants to know why, the why of things. So introverted thinking or why. Why does it work? Why does it do that? Like a kid. Why? Why? Actually, kids use this function a lot when they are kids because they don't know what the fuck's going on and they want to know why. The other side of that thinking coin is going to be extroverted thinking or objective logic, or what I like to call doing or how. So introverted thinking asks the question, why? And extroverted thinking asks the question, how? Why does this work? How does it work? Why do we need this? How are we going to get it? They work together. Well, all of these functions work together, but I think this is really important for understanding. If you think of introverted thinking as why and extroverted thinking as how, it's a great shortcut to understand these concepts and other people when they tell you that they are a TI or introverted thinking or a subjective thinking user. So back to TE, again, it is objective logic, objective thinking, or doing the thing in reality. Extroverted thinking is the deciding tribe function. It asks questions like, how to? Does this work for everybody? This function is one of the two functions we use in our communication styles with other people. And extroverted thinking's communication style is focused on the environment and ideas. Extroverted thinking is about logical tribe reasons and planning. It consults objective data and evidence in decision making. It orchestrates external order. It is enforcing, planning, organizing the environment, asking questions like, how are we going to do this? How does this work? And what works best? It's a teaching function that sees things in sequential order. It is also a technical or impersonal understanding and logic. It is regulating for effectiveness and efficiency, and it is always measuring and constructing for progress. It is constantly judging how to improve systems and processes within the objective outer world. Now, I'm a little biased because the thinking coin is actually the second coin in my personality archetype stack, and I'm literally doing it right now. Extroverted thinking. I am teaching. I am trying to measure for efficient and effective progress towards the future. And I am trying to give you this information in a sequential order so it can be better understood. TE, extroverted thinking. It is a teaching function, and it is very much a communication function. So we are going to get into the feeling function here next, but everybody either uses TE, extroverted objective logic, to communicate with others, or they use FE, which is objective external feelings of other people. And this is just kind of a binary. You are either a TE user or an FE user. You are normally either focusing on communicating by talking about ideas and the environment, or you are focused on communicating by talking about people and feelings. One is not better than the other. They are just different. We need both to be a healthy, harmonious, collective fucking environment, okay? Society, environment, society. I'm an INTJ. I am focused on the environment for the future. And I want the environment to be harmonious for me and the tribe and the community and the people that I am living with. I struggle to focus on the feelings about it. It's not one of my dominant functions. We'll get into that later. I very much focus on teaching about things that can be improved within the environment. And that is because extroverted thinking is one of the functions I am using the most. The next cognitive function coin we're going to talk about is feeling. Introverted feeling, or subjective feelings and values, within this system of prime alchemy is going to be called the soul. It's the soul. FI is the soul. This is why it's really important that we understand that everybody is using all 8 functions, because if you are not using all 8 of these functions, or all 4 of the cognitive functions on their introverted extroverted scale, then that would mean that if you did not value introverted feeling, that you wouldn't have a soul. And I'm a true believer that everyone has a soul. Maybe except for Henry Kissinger and Margaret Thatcher. So, introverted feeling or subjective feelings, this is where we create our value system and where what is important to us, what we desire, this is where it comes from. Introverted feeling or subjective feelings is a deciding identity function. Feeling is considered the soul or values. It asks questions like, what is important? What is valuable to me? It is about someone's personal feelings and values, principles, ethics, morals, and courage. It is about conviction and authenticity, often connected with the saying, staying true to who you really are. It is a judging function. It also appraises, surveys, manages, and protects personal feelings and values. It connects to others by relating to one's personal relationship with the situation, or subjective relationship with the situation. It uses the concept of putting oneself in others' shoes to help experience empathy for other people. Introverted feeling. It is the core of who the fuck you are. What you desire, what you want, how you feel about things, what your value system is, your politics, your personal ethics and morals, all of it comes from this introverted or subjective feeling function. The other side of the feeling coin or scale is going to be extroverted feeling, which is objective feelings or other people's feelings, or what I like to call humanity. So we have introverted feeling, which is your soul, and then extroverted feeling, which is basically the souls of everyone else in humanity. It is also the other communication function, and like I previously mentioned, it communicates based on people and people's feelings and emotions, other people's value systems. Extroverted feeling is a deciding tribe function. It is humanity, empathy, and understanding. It asks questions like, what we need, and do people actually like this? It is about tribe feelings and social values, extroverted expressions of emotions, understanding, validating, relating, and affirming. It's about validation. This is what everyone is seeking. We're seeking validation. It comes from this function. And a lot of parents didn't do it for us, so we don't know how to do it for others. We'll get deeper into that later in the series. Extroverted feeling, or objective feeling, aims to emotionally connect with and work and live well with others. It will often censor oneself and others to maintain harmony. It is a nurturer for the tribe, creates a socially friendly environment, and brings people together, networking or matching people who may be harmonious together. It is nurturing trust through giving relationships. It is also the function that helps human group standards of social behavior and communication. It's about balance, consensus, and communication. It facilitates morale and connection. Extroverted or objective feelings is not only how we express our emotion to other people. Hi, oh my God, I love that. Oh, that is the best. Those are all extroverted expressions of emotions, right? That is part of extroverted feeling, as well as extroverted feeling is about being able to perceive, being able to read other people's emotions, being able to come into a room and understand, oh, there's an awkward energy here. It is also about delivering information or talking to people in this very trusting way, right? It matches the person's emotions that you are talking to. So if someone is sad, someone is telling you that their dog just died. If I was standing there and listening to them going, oh my God, your dog just died? Crazy. That would seem weird, maybe even a little sociopathic. We need extroverted feelings so that we are matching the emotion of the moment or matching the emotion of what we're feeling in that moment. So if someone's telling me about their dog just dying, then I'm probably going to be like, oh my goodness, that's so horrible. I'm so sorry. You've had that dog for so long. And I'm not going to want to have a big, oh my God, right? Like, oh my God. Some people who use extroverted feeling as a more dominant function may have a big expression of emotion even when something is sad, right? Oh my goodness, not Shelly, right? Something like that. And that may still be authentic to them. We all know we've met people in life. They're just bigger with their expressions of emotions. And I love that. It's like, I love drag shows and the like that aspect of like the queer scene because I love having fun with big extroverted expressions of emotion. Yes, honey. Yes, polka dots, right? That is very extroverted out there, extroverted feeling. Okay, I got a little passionate talking about that one because that's actually a function I struggle with the most. and so if you're an FE user and you're watching this, hopefully my description was validating. I love this function because I don't understand it. So I'm in this like exploration of studying it and people and seeing how I react to it. I struggle sometimes with my extroverted expression of emotion to match what I'm actually talking about. It is normally matching how I feel in the moment, but sometimes I will say very dark stuff and information with a smile on my face. And I've been called out about this on YouTube and TikTok videos. And you know what? It just is a part of who I am. I am working on it to the best that I can to communicate information, but I've also accepted that it's a part of who I am. The last cognitive function coin we're going to talk about is intuition. And this one is actually my favorite because I am a dominant intuition user. That is my first function as an INTJ. We'll start by talking about introverted intuition, which is also subjective intuition, or what I like to call purpose. NI, introverted intuition, subjective intuition, purpose. Sometimes I even like to call it imagination. Introverted intuition is described as an observing, organizing function. It is purpose and vision. It asks questions like, what will be and what is the best pattern? Introverted intuition or subjective intuition is focused on organizing ideas and patterns. It is about perspective, focus, will, drive, and purpose. It connects observed data into a singular idea, thought, or vision. It sees the underlying significance and meaning of things. It is transforming with a meta purpose. It generates convergent insights and impressions, discerns deep laws, causes, and patterns. It is divining, knowing insight, or a hunch, instinct, or inkling. It creates unconscious imagery, and it is predominantly used when we are doing active imagination or daydreaming. It is inner visuals and our imagination. It likes to communicate information through stories and allegory, abstract visuals. It is very tuned into archetypes, imagery, dreams, and it is incredibly meta. And meta just means self-referential, or of a creative work that is referring to itself. So think of Deadpool is a very meta movie where it's breaking the fourth wall. Subjective intuition or introverted intuition is where the visual imagery that is created in our heads when we are dreaming at night, or again, when we close our eyes and try to plan something out, or if we are looking at something we're building and we're trying to imagine what the end result is going to look like. It is very much a function that creates willpower. Think about too in life or death situations where a mother needs to just push through a pain or a struggle or something uncomfortable to save their child. That will, that drive comes from this introverted intuition function. The other side of the intuition scale is extroverted intuition or objective intuition. Outer intuition. And I like to call this possibilities. Oh, the possibilities. NE, extroverted intuition, possibilities. Extroverted intuition or objective intuition, outer intuition, is about exploring, envisioning, and the possibilities. It is an observing, gathering function. It asks questions like what could be and what are the patterns. It is about gathering ideas and patterns and broadly explores and synthesizes these ideas. It is about exploring the emerging patterns. It expands abstract ideas, and it is the function we use to brainstorm. It is also connected with being scatterbrained. It is focused on the exploration of new abstract possibilities of ideas. It is also imagination. Extroverted intuition loves to interact with the ideas and possibilities of those ideas with others. It is about entertaining and enabling the discussion and interaction of ideas. I like to think of extroverted intuition as the bridge or access to a giant cloud that is abstractly in the universe that is full of new ideas. It is full of new art, new songs, new chord measures, new philosophy, new ideas. It's just full of all of these, it's a cloud full of all of these new idea bubbles that haven't necessarily been consciously manifested in our reality. Depending on the position of your extroverted intuition in your personality archetype, your access to this abstract, universal, new idea cloud is dependent on where in your cognitive function stack extroverted intuition is. So for people who use extroverted intuition as a dominant function, the bridge, the access to that big idea cloud is shorter. It's shorter because they're doing it all the time. Dominant NE users are in that abstract idea cloud all the time. All of the time. It is also a function that a lot of our praised and idolized creators, artists, musicians, producers, it is where they make that new art because they have a quick little bridge and they can just leave reality and go out into the mountains, into like, a cabin, and just create new ideas because there isn't reality to distract them from that big abstract cloud of new ideas. I don't want that to be discouraging. Everyone can access that cloud, and you can access that cloud just as easily as dominant any users. The more balanced and healthy that you are, and the less trauma and complexes that your personality archetype is dealing with. And again, that is the whole point of this entire series. All right, let's wrap this up. Title card. Title card, title card, a title card. I'm so excited because I think I actually wrote this script and expressed these ideas in a way that people can understand and actually have fun with this, instead of considering this like hoity-toity psychology or considering it like poo-poo pseudoscience. It is very, very helpful, and it's going to get really fun from here on out. Next section. So now that we understand what each of these cognitive functions do, sensing, thinking, intuition, and feeling, and we understand each side of their coins, their extroverted introversion scale, I want us to think about all of the introverted functions or the subjective functions as our inner world, and to express these introverted subjective functions to the outer world. We need the other half of their coin. We need the extroverted versions of those functions, because I cannot express my inner world, my inner ideas, my inner feelings, my inner tuition, my inner sensory. I can't express them without using the extroverted sides of that cognitive function coin. And that's why it is very important that we use Jung's 4-function cognitive function model: thinking, sensing, intuition, feeling. But we also expand on Jung's research and use the introverted extroversion coin or scale to describe each of those cognitive functions, because we use all 8. Okay? I know that some of my personality typers are going to come for me in the video, because there are a lot of different personality systems that say we only use 4, and there are a lot of personality typers that are very focused on a 4-function cognitive system, meaning there's 8, but you only have 4, so you only use 4, and they just consider the other 4 that you don't use. This is my argument. This is my concept and theory based on tons of research and based on Jung dying before he finishes his fucking theories and research. I think this is sequentially, collectively, if Jung had gotten to live to 150, I think he would have eventually gotten to this, where you have 4 functions, they are in an order, and each function is on a scale or a coin. So to express your inner world, you have to use your extroverted functions. To express your subjective life experience, you have to use your objective functions. And I'm going to give some examples. To effectively communicate your own introverted thinking, subjective reasons, and logic, you must use extroverted thinking. For me to convince other people of my subjective logic or reasoning or why to do something, the best way I can convince them is by communicating it through their logic. Extroverted thinking, okay? I've taken my introverted subjective thinking and I have organized it in a way to communicate it to others in a way that is a logical argument for their introverted thinking, right? But is logical for the whole tribe, and it objectively benefits everybody. To convince you of my why, I have to use extroverted thinking. How? Why? How? To effectively communicate your introverted feelings or subjective feelings and values, you need to FE, extroverted feelings. You have to, I can't express inner feelings like this. If I want to express that I'm excited, I can't be like, I am excited. Like, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be convinced, right? So to express an inner feeling, I have to express an introverted feeling or a subjective feeling, I have to use extroverted feeling. I have to use the extroverted side of that coin to be like, I am so excited. That's not how I would say it at all. That was definitely like high-pitched server voice. I am like so fucking excited. That's how I would probably normally say it. To effectively communicate your own subjective memories and experiences, you need to explain them by using extroverted sensing, by telling people about all the sensory data. So if I'm going to tell you a story about playing basketball in my childhood, I'm going to need to give you SE data. What color my team was, how old I was, how tall I was. Like, I was a point guard, but I was only 5'5", so I was a short point guard, but I could really jump, and so I still out-rebounded girls that were taller than me, right? And my basketball team was the Vikings, and we wore purple. These are all SE, extroverted sensing pieces of data that I'm going to use to fill in a better story as I'm communicating to you guys so that you guys can understand a piece of my memory. I can't just have the memory in my head, in my inner world, and then expect all you guys to know it. I'm going to have to set the, what's that word? Set the environment? Storytelling. I'm going to have to set the stage. Set the stage. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I have to set the stage for the story, or you're not going to understand the story, or why I'm telling you, or it's going to be boring. This also works vice versa. So to have memories, to store memories, you have to take in the objective reality, right? The SE, or extroverted sensing, objective reality. You have to actually observe that consciously so that you can create introverted sensing or subjective sensing memories. Okay? So if you ain't paying attention, you ain't gonna remember shit, right? This is why people can have life experiences, go to the movies, go out and hang out with friends, and then when they tell you about it, they don't have very much to explain because they weren't really in the moment of that reality. They were still in their head, or they were in other people's emotions, or they were in their own emotions, but they weren't actually experiencing it in reality. And so you don't create real, authentic, meaningful memories. And so this is one reason why I remind people that you need to pay the fuck attention. Live in reality. It's actually better than people think that it is. Trust me. I know being in your head is really fun, but reality is actually pretty fucking great. It's beautiful, and it's meaningful, and deep, and validates, and is connective, and there's a sense of belonging. Try it. Try reality. Maybe I need to make an ad. Are you sad? Try reality. Like actual reality, not the exaggerated, dangerous, made up hyper reality that the internet and news programs and politics actually communicate to us, because those things aren't actually real. Okay? Go touch grass. That's what that saying is for. Touch grass. That is reality, okay? The president, politics, these laws, all that shit, not fucking reality. We made it up. We could change it if we wanted to. That's my anarchist rant to finish this video off. So to wrap this up, these cognitive functions help us understand our judging, perceiving, consciousness and psyche, and are really there to help explain our decision-making process. These aren't created to be able to stereotypically judge or categorize people. They were created as a tool so that we can understand better our own conscious reality life experience, this beautiful thing that is called existence. We needed tools to understand it, and this is one of them. Cognitive functions are made to help us understand our decision-making process, what we are good at, where we find purpose, what our roles are in communities that we live in, how to better communicate with other people, empathy, understanding. Like, it's the whole human thing, okay? That's why this series is called How Humans Work, because this is how. You can't just know someone by knowing their personality archetype or their cognitive function coins and what stack they're in. That doesn't mean you know the person, because every single person is having their own unique subjective life experience in their inner world. And the only way you can actually truly love, connect, genuinely know someone is if they are comfortable and secure enough and you provide a space where they are comfortable enough to actually share their inner world. You can hang out with someone a bazillion times. You could be friends with someone for 5 years. You could be married to someone for 20. And we know this because we've heard these stories. And you can also then look at them and be like, I don't know who the fuck you are. Because they have never authentically expressed their inner world to other people in their outer world. And this is one reason why we feel so invalidated and unseen in the current society that we live in. Because we are too scared to express our inner world authentically in the outer objective world. Or we've been so traumatized that we don't even know. We don't even know what that inner world is to express. Or we're too scared. We're too programmed to not express it because it's been unaccepted. And that is an authenticity, and that isn't a life experience. That is a depersonalized, disconnected experience of an objective reality, of a hyper reality, of your trauma and the programming from your parents, societal conditioning. That's probably why it seems so sad and depressing. Because it's not actual reality. If you want to dive deeper into how to make those connections and like this kind of concept I just talked about, I do have a video called How to Love. I'll put a link somewhere up here and in the description. It actually breaks down the 8 steps and connects them to all 8 cognitive functions, about how we actually go through the process of genuinely being loved or loving someone else through using and engaging all 4 sides of these cognitive functions. Okay. I think I did it. I think I got through it. This is the first time that I've tried to teach this concept in a more controlled environment. I'm normally just having kind of casual conversations with people. Let me know in the comments if this made sense or you understood this. And if you didn't completely, it's okay. When we get into part 3 and part 4 and actually show the positions for these functions within your cognitive stack and then your personality type, it's all going to come together. Because it's all connected. It's my favorite line. It's all connected, which is what I'm trying to show. Okay, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Leave comments about things that you didn't understand, because your feedback helps me better be able to teach and write my book. Much love. Get to know yourself. Be a radical fucking anarchist. Like now, go do it now. Like go love yourself right now. Okay? It's worth it. Go express yourself authentically to another human being that cares about you and encourage them to also do so. Okay, we're really done now. Bye. Is going to be different than my whether we are doing it extroverted, blah, blah, restart. So we'll start talking your access to this abstract